Hey nerds. You know, once people started, Jesus.
I don't know if our guest just died, guys. I hope he's okay.
I am okay. The fire alarm just went off.
Okay. It's the whole chat's like. Okay, welcome back. Do you think you'll make another appearance on my stream, maybe in the future?
I mean, this is fun. I just need to make sure the fire alarm doesn't go off.
Greetings.
Hello.
How are you, fine sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I think the chats were expecting you to say, "Hey nerds."
Real talk, it's gonna be hard to follow up the awesome intro overlay. I don't know what I can do that's better than that.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty amazing, I'd say, but not as long as you say "Hey nerds," I think we're good. Try it. Just try it for the chat. I'm sure they'll be really happy with poggers.
Hey nerds.
Yes, well done. Oh, you got a lot of Reinhardts in the chat. That seems appropriate. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, our special guest tonight is indeed Reinhardt himself. I'm kidding. It's actually Dire Thunder, and Dire Thunder is an amazing YouTuber, actually recommended to me by a lot of you in my community and chat. So for those who don't know, this is his YouTube channel. Yes, I do watch YouTube. And on his YouTube channel, he makes probably what I consider to be objectively some of the best educational content that I follow and listen to whenever I go to work. So yeah, he's. When did you start up there? A couple months ago?
Yeah, I think I started my channel in November, I want to say.
Yeah.
So it's been like 4 months or so. 3 months.
Yeah, that's really amazing considering the quality of your videos. I think your stuff is really good. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff here for you guys to watch. If you aren't following his channel, I'll give it a little link in the chat. And well, subscribe. Sorry, subscribe is a term we use.
Chat says you're not subbed.
I'm not. What? Oh no! I'm subbed on my other account. It's not fair. I have two accounts.
No,
I have two accounts.
Exposed.
Not subbed. I have two accounts, guys. But we clicked the sub button. Okay, my bad. I got wrecked. Chat destroyed me already. Anyways, maybe for a starter, if there's a lot of newer players in the chat right now, I'd probably recommend this video here for orb spending, because a lot of my comment topics in chat are definitely going to be that. When we talk about how to spend orbs, you'll hear it on and off like broken record all the time. So yeah, Dire, introduce yourself, whatever you want to say to the chat, like how long you've been playing Fire Emblem, what you enjoy doing, you know, just whatever you want to say about yourself. Go ahead.
I don't know, let's see. As far as like Fire Emblem content creators go, I'm pretty new to Fire Emblem. I only started playing in the last like 5 or so years, and there's people who have been playing for 20 or more. Radiant Dawn, and best girl is Titania. And that's it from me.
Good quality choices. Yeah, what did you play before Fire Emblem?
Let's see, mobile games. I played a lot of Puzzle and Dragon, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, Marvel Future Fight. And then for other strategy games, I've always really liked stuff like XCOM, Civ. You know, like kind of like the normal stuff.
Oh yeah, XCOM is actually a very strategic game from what I've heard. I've never got a chance to play it though.
It's real good. I think you'd actually like it a lot with how you play Heroes.
With, you mean over analysis? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Someone's asking me to ask you. Apparently, it's me asking myself to ask you what your favorite Reinhardt impression is. What's your best impression of Reinhardt?
Oh, this is gonna be tough. Okay. My sister went her way. I went mine.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. I'm gonna compare it. Let's go click on him.
I can't remember if the Sias line is, I knew an amazing tactician named Sias. You may be his superior.
Ryan Fick clap.
Tell me, what are your orders?
I love that the voice of Reinhardt is the same voice as Legion. I think that's hilarious.
Come now, no more of that.
I never noticed that, actually. You just mentioned it.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's a very different character.
My sister went her way. I went mine.
Ah, damn it is brilliant. Not amazing. I own
You
myself.
have quite a skill for battle tactics. I have a younger sister named Olwen. Do you have any siblings?
All right, that's awesome. I had to go click on Reinhardt a few times. That's why I didn't say anything. just to compare. You did it. You nailed it pretty well. Why did you name your channel Dire Thunder, by the way? There's some history behind it.
So the real reason, and it's kind of like maybe cynical, is branding for Fire Emblem Heroes, because like when I started the channel, we were kind of in the, I would say, the heyday of Reinhardt's dominance. It felt like, you know, every problem was just use the Reinhardt, solve the problem.
Is this still not today's?
this-
Is that not today's meta? Are we still not
Nah,
recommending?
dude, we're in green armor world now.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had to start the channel now, it would be Berserk Armods.
Berserk Armods. No,
Just playing Wrath.
somebody in chat right now is creating a YouTube channel called Berserk Armods, your newest competitor. How do you feel about that?
I mean, as long as every build is just like a killer weapon with Wrath, then you'll be fine. Top tier, confirmed.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, so we're planning to do kind of like a podcasty discussion here about mostly the history of the game, state of the game, where it's come, where it is, and where it's probably going. So for those of you in chat that are listening, don't feel obligated to watch what's on the screen unless you like to look at my pretty face and maybe some pictures here and there. But yeah, you can basically just listen to us as we kind of talk and discuss a lot of things going on in the game and have happened in the game. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's kind of like start with the history of the game then, Dire. Have you played since day one?
Yes, I started playing at launch basically, and I was actually really worried for the first, 2 weeks or so, because the game was really bare bones and had a lot of really big problems. Like the rewards just weren't there. There was no real content. The stamina limit was like 50. It was really rough. And the systems that we all, that kind of like define the game, like skill inheritance, weren't even a thing yet. The great Takumi era, where every problem was like, uh-oh, Takumi or Hector.
Yeah, 50 stamina days. Those were the dark times. I completely agree.
Oh yeah. Double stamina training tower.
Who was your first 5-star?
My very first 5-star was Roy.
Actually, mine
And-
too.
and the-
Hey,
It
brothers.
was like I think he was minus attack, like
yes,
plus
mine
defense
too.
or something.
Mine too.
Hell yeah.
Minus attack plus HP. He's sitting right here in the barracks. Still hasn't even been built. I gave him TA and Axe Breaker 1 and called it a day. Yeah, I
it's
feel
like
you.
sometimes I kill Hector with him, and it's like great.
Yeah, I actually, between the first two initial banners, I didn't even know anything about gachas. I didn't even know what the term gacha was when I started playing this game. So walking into this, I'm like, hey, Fire Emblem for mobile, let's go! And then, I started the game, and I'm just like, how do I get my favorite heroes? And I think the first thing I clicked before I even played the story was like summon, because I looked at my barracks and I'm like, where's my favorite heroes? I click on summon, and I see like this banner, and I'm like, I don't like any of these guys. Martha's here? Ew. I don't know if you're looking at the stream, Dire. It's probably gonna be a little bit delayed, but I'm basically just looking at the initial banners right now. And yeah, then I saw this one. I'm like, whoa, there's Lynn here. There's I was trying for Lynn. I was definitely trying for Lynn in the beginning. I mean, I was like, I got to start with my favorite characters here. And I also saw Takumi, and I was like, I kind of like Takumi. And yeah, I just rolled with like the first 20 orbs you had. And I think honestly my first ever summon was the minus tack Roy, which I ended up benching pretty quickly. And I got like a minus tack Merrick, I think, as one of the first greens. And like, who is this guy? Yeah. How would you describe your introduction to the game? Like, what did you kind of do? Where'd you go?
I mean, like, I was totally on board just because it was Fire Emblem. Like, I was like willing to give it a chance on that alone. The thing that actually I was going to to stop playing, but Skill Inheritance came out and it kind of like saved the game for me. Because I felt like the characters were... the game was so limiting at launch, like there was just nothing you could do. So it kind of felt like, well, I guess I'll just use these units, I guess. But then SI came out and it became the crazy Wild West, and it was just really, really fun. Like no joke, I think SI is the feature that defined and saved the game. Like without SI, the game would be dead and the game would be bad.
Yeah, you know what? Before we reached SI, so I guess we can kind of go from here to there, and everything up till then was pretty much use Takumi and Robin. I didn't even use Robin, actually, personally. I think my initial teams were, like, really bad. I had, like, Noe and Effie and Lynn or something in my initial teams. Maybe Kagura was, like, my best unit. And it was really bad. Like, I didn't know what I was doing when I first started playing. Kind of like summoning on every banner and just playing really inefficiently the first few months. So, yeah, I mean, up until SI, I was like, what am I doing? But yeah, it seems like according to the news, we actually got our first preview of Inherit Skill on March 8th. That wasn't the update for it. Which is
kind of like crazy because that's almost a full month, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Over a full month, actually.
It feels like it was longer, but I guess we got it pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it's safe to say that Inheritance was planned from launch. I want to say it was actually in the release notes for the game was Skill Inheritance is upcoming. And I think what caught everyone off guard about SI was the lack of restrictions. Like I know when SI was first being considered and speculated, a lot of people were wondering like, oh, can I only inherit from axe users to axe users? Oh man, Gordon's gonna be so great because he has Vantage as a bow. I can give it to Takumi.
Gordon? Did you just say Gordon?
Yeah, dude, because it's like, oh man, he's a bow. I can only inherit from bows, right?
Yeah. I remember those. Okay, now I remember what you meant. Yeah.
And then things got so crazy when the update came out, and it was just like, nah, man, go crazy. Like, put whatever on whatever, go for it. And then it was all she wrote. And it was beautiful and crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people definitely did talk about the game that way. And they thought it was like the death of the game. And I didn't really think so at that point, because I felt like customization has always been a very important part of Fire Emblem. So not being able to use my favorite heroes with a lack of customization was kind of off-putting in the beginning. I think I remember looking at like Lynn and realizing she kind of dropped in the tiers every single time, because back then I wasn't that like as educated as I am right now, and I looked at it and I'm like, what is this? Like, how come I can't use her? How come she isn't doing work for me, guys? Like, I didn't really discuss the game with anybody, but I kind of just played it by myself and realized like, wow, she's not as good as I wanted her to be. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, great. I mean, maybe I can create some cool builds and make her work. Who was like your saving grace in that aspect? Like, which character with the skill inheritance did you like love to see, better?
So the unit that hard carried me for like probably the first 6 months of Fire Emblem Heroes was Ryoma, because I got Ryoma, and like the inner workings of my brain were basically like, wait a minute, I can put Fury and Vantage on him. I'm a genius. And that led to, the world's most basic Ryoma build of all time, but I thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, here's mine. Fury Vantage.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and then ending up with, once people started, Jesus.
I don't know if our guest just died, guys. I hope he's okay.
I am okay. The fire alarm just went off.
Okay. The whole chat's like.
That might happen again. I apologize.
Okay, welcome back.
I've got my hand on the mute button. People
Insane.
forget about this, but there was an era when Reinhardt was considered a bad unit because it's the whole, oh, he has no speed, he can't be good, right?
I remember this as well.
And then,
and I didn't really care about Reinhardt because I never really related to him from any Fire Emblem game. I was like, whatever. But yeah, speed is still kind of, even to this day, neglected as a stat that needs to be higher than it has to be. Oh, Dire muted, guys.
oh, I'm just
okay,
muting when I'm not talking.
Okay. Yeah, so I felt like there was definitely a thing here where even to this day, present day, we have a lot of scenarios where people sleep on the speed stat. Like they think that you need super high speed for a unit to be viable. It's unless they're armor and using like fighter skills. We'll talk about that later. But I have so many units that I've looked at where people think they don't work just because they have low speed. A good example of this might personally is Florina. Like people just think that Florina is not good just because she has low speed, and then forget that she has great mixed bulk. So like I have looked at her and been like, hey guys, this isn't that bad of a unit. And even to this day, with the release of like LA Roy, him having the lowest speed but the highest attack, he literally looks like a colorless Reinhardt to me. He's still able to use Brave Ball. So I don't know. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I mean when people look at units, especially like retroactively, I think people focus too much on virtual advantages that units have that they aren't actually using. So for example, when you look at Reinhardt as a dedicated player phase attacker, he's amazing, right? Because his attack is great and he has an amazing personal weapon. But when you look at Reinhardt as a unit in a vacuum and you say, well, actually he dies when he gets attacked, then you say, oh, he's actually not that good, right? But that kind of discussion isn't really how we use units in the first place, right? It's kind of like, well, yes, Reinhardt dies when he gets attacked, but just don't let him get hit. I'm really glad that already got clipped. It's gonna be great.
What got clipped? Oh, the fire alarm? Well, at least you're alive.
Thank you, Twitch chat.
Yeah.
For now. So yeah, when people say like, oh, Lind is clearly the stronger unit because she is fast enough to not get doubled, so she will survive more on the enemy phase. And it's like, well, who gives a crap, right? Like, who cares if Reinhardt has a bad enemy phase? He can just kill stuff.
I would even say Reinhardt's enemy phase isn't that bad, considering horse buffs now and what it's become. I mean, he kind of needed SI, considering Blazing Thunder wasn't really doing much, and Death Blow really helps him a lot. So, there's a couple of things that definitely helped him. I mean, if you were going to use Reinhardt before the skill inheritance patch, it seems like you probably need, like, Gunter on your team. Nobody wanted to use Gunter, so... Because he was the only user of Hone Cavalry.
Yep. It's just interesting, I think. It's kind of like... I'm going to draw a comparison, actually, to World of Warcraft, right? Where if you look back at Vanilla WoW now, the thing that made Vanilla WoW difficult or interesting is how bad everyone was at the game. And that's kind of how we've come with Fire Emblem Heroes, right? Is that if we look back to launch and we say, wow, we were all stupid and every unit was terrible. compared to nowadays when we know like what stat distributions are good, which skills we should be using, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of games as well, including WoW. So I remember pretty much the early days of WoW. Raiding, as a comparison here, is people didn't really know how to optimize stats or how to play classes, and you really had like maybe a very very small percentage of people who actually knew how to play the game back then. And I can even give this as a true example. Even back in Wrath of Lich King, which was pretty popular, I was actually the #1 Shadow Priest back in that game, and I had people sending me in-game mail asking me how to play the Shadow Priest on the server, because like that sort of information was so difficult to acquire even in those days. Humble brag. But I mean, like, it's a good, yeah.
The teacher instinct is strong. Is too strong.
I mean, like, forget online resources. How do I play my Shadow Priest in-game mail, right? Like, I think I have this as a screenshot on my computer somewhere. Like, it was like my glory trophy back then. I was like 14 or something, and I was like, yes, I'm the best at something, yeah. But yeah. Anyways, I suppose we can move on. So Reinhardt, even to this day, can be compared with a lot of other units, and low speed is definitely something I love to encourage on units. I feel like you don't need to be using Ira with 50 speed just to be using a real unit. In fact, with chill speed just being released, and if that becomes more readily available, we definitely might see some interesting things in the meta. Hopefully, we'll see. But I think chill speed is something later we can talk about. But I feel like that will be a big like nail in the coffin for people who rely on those units.
But that's what I like about looking at the history of the game, right? Is that when you look at the things that have happened over the first year of Heroes, and you can see that Intelligent Systems is learning, and that we're learning at the same time. But of course, like the collective resources of the community will always outpace any effort that a development team can have. In other words, we're really good at overreacting and complaining, and the dev team only has so much time to fix stuff. And so, like, I mean, like banners, right? Going from 6-unit banners to 4-unit banners. I don't think. When was the last time we got a 6-unit banner? Was it like all the way back at Ninian?
Was it actually sibling bonds? No, after that. Yeah, good question. Let's take a look. So, Summoning Focus, Grand Hero Ursula had 4. I'm seeing like Felicia on these banners. Like they really didn't really think about what they wanted on these units. I think they went with themes, right? That was their initial approach. Yeah. They went with themes, and that was kind of like, I felt I was definitely supporting a game in the right direction here, where they were making decisions that definitely embrace the Fire Emblem feel. And unfortunately, that's kind of changed recently, but we'll get to that. But yeah, I think Blazing Shadows was the last one with 6 units on it. And this banner definitely made some people unhappy. I think this banner was actually the first time I spent money on the game, personally. Which was, what, so March 14th?
The Ninian banner is like... It was the first banner for me where I kind of realized the conditional... I finally kind of like appreciated how summoning worked. And it's kind of like, oh, having 6 units on a banner is really, really bad. It makes it like impossible for a unit. Just because I didn't really like fully kind of like understand the conditional probability. Because I'm dumb and conditional probability is like complicated and unintuitive. Incidentally, this is why legendary hero banners are pretty bad, right? Is because of the conditional probability that goes into summoning. So, like, if you're summoning on a 6-unit banner and you say, I want 1 unit on it, you're kind of screwed. There's really nothing you can do. Also, holy crap, that banner had 4 colorless units on it.
Did you just look at it? Did you just
I did. That's real bad. 4 colorless units and Carol.
And nowadays, if we look at this banner, it's like everyone would auto skip this, but back then people were so excited for this banner. I remember people targeting Jafar. I was pretty smart on this banner, all things considered. I think I learned as well on this banner that my chances of getting something were abysmal back here. I was like, wait, Jafar's there, that's cool, but I don't want Rebecca, Priscilla, and Lucius. I don't want Staff Lucius. Who wants Staff Lucius? But I ended up getting Ninian off this banner. My Ninian's up to like +6 merge, I believe, because she's been on so many banners, and I've kind of gotten her pity break here and there, Hero Fest, etc., etc. Like, there's just been so many things, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's but the point is that Intelligent Systems is iterating, right? And they're iterating in positive ways by giving us things that we want, and also in negative ways by learning how to get money out of us as a community. So compare like old banners that were themed around specific games and were just kind of like crappy overall to new banners where every banner has like a clear chase unit, right? Like the obvious desirable pull that's meant to incentivize you to pull for that unit. I think Myrrh is probably the best example, right? Where Sacred Memories is kind of an okay banner, but Myrrh is like an amazing unit. Or, Valentine's, where it's like, everyone's good, but then there's Hector.
Yeah. Yep. I'm still pulling on that banner. Even I compare like the Grima banner with that banner, and I'm like, why would I want Grima when Hector's right there? It's like, consider my two options. Like, I just don't. I want that guy. He has this encounter. So, and I always talk about this as well with the whole permanent units being in a pool versus seasonals and kind of your missed opportunity here and there. We can go on that as I think the first time we can get to the next point, which would actually be the first time we see seasonal units, which is with spring.
Yes, I think so. Spring Festival.
Yep. So here it is. So this is the first time we ended up with seasonal units, and guys, all these units are pretty bad, other than Spring Camilla in current day. But they can be useful in some niches here and there. I personally know that you can make Spring Crom work as a lance breaker check. You can make Spring Lucina. Actually, Spring Lucina is the blue mage with the highest defense, infantry blue mage with the highest defense. Which was, they didn't know what they were doing with stat spreads back here. they just kind of like, I think they tried to embrace like like from the Fire Emblem games, what they kind of were good at, I guess. Kind of, maybe. I don't know. What do you think on this? What was their direction with this? Like, what was going on?
I think units were designed to be flavorful and not necessarily optimized for Heroes gameplay, right? So like a unit was intended to represent their mainline incarnation in some way. Although it's kind of funny to talk about that with the spring units because they're all weird memes, but whatever. So it's kind of like Lucina has like this fast, aggressive stat line, but with a bunch of wasted points in defense and res, when nowadays all we really care about is we want to have like 3 or 4 good stats on a unit, and we want the other 2 to be terrible. Because we all want our units to do like a very specific job. So these old units that just have like very random stat distributions or lots of wasted points are just bad.
Skill Inheritance was out, by the way, at this point. So these were adjustable. Nowadays when we compare back, right, the BST issue is also part of this. So you have units that have worse stat distributions and lower stat totals. So because of that, we have units that end up being really, really weak in comparison, which makes pulling them on banners feel really bad. Please don't put these units on legendary banners anymore. I guess except Camilla because she's, a novelty unit because of flying. One of my upcoming predictions for the legendary banner in a few days was missed because she's the only one of the few 5-star exclusives not on a legendary banner yet, and since the rules have only been 5-star exclusives, I feel like she's going to be tucked in there with a high demand colorless hero to kind of like make everybody upset, because they've done that. Have you
who's left in colorless?
Only Jafar and Mist. Jafar and Mist are the only ones that haven't been used for 5-star exclusive.
So it'll be a colorless legendary hero. Got it.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, there has to be that because they're just gonna put those 2 in there, and we're gonna be like screwed. It's like, but let's talk about legendary banners later as we reach it. I think they definitely tried to go with themes here. They weren't really pushing, sales as heavily as we've seen recently with special heroes. And honestly, here I got like Crom, and I was happy with that. I knew Camilla was like by the community considered better at the time, but Crom is one of my favorite units from Awakening, and I got him, and I was like, sweet, I got who I wanted. Even to this day, I use him pretty commonly. So. In Arena Assault anyways, with Lance Breaker, and you just throw him in there and kill a Lance unit with his high defense, high speed, high attack, so he's useful. Yeah, let's look at some more stuff then. I think this was around the time we also got our first Oh no, we didn't talk about voting Gauntlet.
Do we need to talk about voting Gauntlet?
I don't think so. Maybe we don't need to talk about voting Gauntlet.
Okay, so brief words on voting Gauntlet. Voting Gauntlet is only good because the rewards are good.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's like pretty bad, and I do not like it at all.
Have you ever voted on a voting Gauntlet for an actual like for like your favorite? Has it ever happened to you from the beginning? The first one, by the way,
I supported Ike in the Gauntlet that he ended up winning. That was the only time that I voted for a character that I like wanted to win.
Yeah. The first one, just as a reminder, was Erica, Lucina, Sharina, Elise, Ephraim and Crom, Alphonse and Leo. Just like half of these make me laugh because they would like never put these on a current voting Gauntlet anymore. At least some of them they might not. I'm surprised Crom is here actually. Yeah, so I never voted ever, even from the first voting Gauntlet. I always voted for like whatever got me the most feathers because I look at voting Gauntlets even to this day as something that people just forget about after like the week right after. I even apply this to summoning. Like I tell people, don't ride the hype of a new units, and you're gonna forget that these units were even like on a banner a week after. You know?
Yeah, I mean, voting Gauntlet. So when it comes to voting Gauntlet stuff, all of the community fan art, memes, whatever, is really fun. But the actual gameplay of voting Gauntlet is the problem because it's unintuitive and obnoxious. It's so nothing. I hate that you get maximum rewards by like intentionally picking losing teams. I think that's really dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Very frustrating.
Very dumb. You can't really jump on the bandwagons of favorite characters. You were, even from the old days, right? Like you still kind of wanted to pick the losing team for higher feather rewards. I think that was still the case, even in the old days.
I would say in the vanilla, the very first voting Gauntlet. I don't know if that was the case, or maybe people hadn't figured it out yet. But I don't know, because there was no multiplier at this point. There was, if you picked Lucina, it was a sure thing. So that makes kind of picking her for feathers a little more reasonable, I think. Because you could count on that being like, what is it, 1,500 or 2,000 feathers, whatever the victory rewards total was.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I do remember that being, even on the old days, you didn't get like, you got your army victory reward as 500 feathers, but it still ended up being more efficient to vote for someone that was likely to lose. I think I actually voted for like Alphonse in this initial voting Gauntlet. Even from the old days, I kind of realized what was needed. So I need to update my title in Twitch because I see a very common question like, who's this? Who's the guest? And the guest is Dire Thunder, guys. He's a very educational, great content creator on YouTube. If you don't know who he is, he provides some great videos that can pretty much elaborate and analyze a lot of stuff we talk about on the stream. People are asking for your face reveal. Tell them why you can't face reveal Dire Thunder.
Because I do not have a webcam. I will be buying one at some point in the near future, though.
Great. Okay, so that was our voting Gauntlet thing. How do you feel about Grand Hero battles from where they've come to, from like, especially if you compare this to Infernal Takumi, which happened like yesterday, and the first ever one was Narcian, just as a comparison to that. Actually, I think Narcian it was actually pretty difficult even today. I remember doing it on elites and stuff, and I wasn't like, this isn't that easy.
Yeah, so Grand Hero battles are my favorite content in the game, for two reasons. One, I think fighting like boss maps is fun. Like I've always liked that in Fire Emblem. I think it's cool to figure out ways to take down super powerful units. And two, Grand Hero battles are the only progression path in Heroes that doesn't go through summoning. It is the only way to get, I guess, not counting the special cap daily units, because screw them, right? Like that's a weird vestigial feature.
Tempest
But
Trial
like Grand
reward.
Hero Battle,
Tempest Trial 5-star.
Oh,
by
yeah,
the way.
you're right.
I rely on that a lot on
You're
my
right.
free-to-play account, where I don't summon very often. It helps a lot there.
But like it's a way to get good units that are characters that people care about without having to spend orbs, right? And that's like everything that I think a mode like Grand Hero Battles needs to be. And I've always really liked them. I think they're a good mix between like tactics and puzzle. For players who are free to play or who don't have like really strong units, I think they are way more puzzly. Like I think the fact that so many people are relying on guides for Takumi, for instance, is kind of a shame. Not because they shouldn't, but because they have to. Or like Valter, right? Where it's like, oh, do you have Lynn or Cordelia? If not, then Valter's going to give you a rough time, like that kind of thing. But other than those specific instances, I think Grand Hero Battles are great.
Yeah, even I how do you feel about like looking up guides and such? Like, have you been a pretty prominent user of using guides or kind of figuring out yourself? Personally, I like the challenge and figuring out these things myself. I appreciate people who do the guides though. No harm on that. I think it's really important, and I think a lot of people even learn from me doing it to kind of like adapt their own strategies to make it work. But every time any one of these Grand Hero Battles come out, and especially the elites, I loved the elite quests. Like I love them. I love doing it. I spent like 4 hours with 2 level 1 FEs, my level 40 plus 5 merge Wendy, and a level 40 5-star Sheena, figuring out how to do 4 armor quests on my free-to-play account. And that, I figured it out with Obstruct, of all things, by the way. So, yeah, it was great, like, to learn these kind of things on my own. And even the Takumi one, I two-shot it yesterday, and I did it with fires. And I swear every like 5th message in chat was like, why are you using fires? I used Bridlin and 3 dancers. I used Quadsuna and 3 dancers. I'm like, guys, there's not only one way to do these things, okay? so how do you feel about strats then?
So if there's ever a situation where a Grand Hero Battle only has one possible free-to-play solution, then that is a badly designed map. That's like a stance that I'm willing to take, right? Like if there is only one way for free players to beat a map, then the map needs to be reconsidered. I think Takumi is about as difficult as a Grand Hero Battle should be. And I think that the existence of guides is really important because if a player doesn't have the time or isn't good enough to figure out how to beat a map, I think it is nice that they have the ability to say, watch a video and clear it that way, right? Like
Yep.
the units themselves are like so valuable that I don't want anyone to miss out on that.
Yeah, Takumi is actually a very high quality free to play unit in my opinion. His bow is great.
Mm-hmm.
His base skills are amazing as well, and you can pretty much just give him desperation and he reaches like 40 speed on his base kit just alone, and you're good to go with a really strong range unit. How do you feel about
Yeah, I mean it's
how do you feel about his weapon then, like Scatty? Do you feel like
it's really cool.
does the game need more unique weapons like that, or do you feel like the like stat weapons, like we can compare it to like Celica's most recent weapon, and say like, hey, you know, I don't like Celica's, the broken one though. It's Celica's new weapon. Like it just seems strange to me.
I think just adding stats to something is the laziest way to make it good. Something like Takumi's weapon is really exciting because it sets a precedent that we might get other effects like it. Like obviously not the same thing, but more kind of conditional or tactical effects. Because that makes the game more fun. Like I think that makes you have to care about the map in like a meaningful way instead of just doing arithmetic, right? You're not just going, can my unit survive? Yes, no. You're actually trying to set up like positioning and use other skills, and it makes things dynamic.
Which is what the new Takumi Grand Hero Battle definitely accomplished. I had to adjust skills to make Cordelia bulky. I had to position correctly to not get hit by Scatty. I had to, you know, use things like Wings of Mercy, Escape Route. Like there's so many little things that made that a success, and otherwise you couldn't just cheese it with like, you know, a couple of units here and there.
I mean, you can totally cheese the Takumi Grand Hero Battle. Like I think my strategy was actually just send Naui down the left side and Tiki down the right, and the map killed itself. Pretty much. But you know,
but you're using
but like
plus
not
10s,
everyone,
right?
not everyone can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you had
Yeah,
plus 10, so,
so-
definitely that was just like a stat overload there. I only had my highest merge being like a +3 Cordelia. It was plus speed, and everything else was like
I think the
base.
only unit that I had to watch out for was the blue mage that had pass, because he caught me and I was like, oh crap, why does he have pass?
It's always those skills that catch us.
Yeah.
Obstructs and passes. Okay, so let's move on then. Ground Hero battles, I think they're definitely a resounding success. Definitely help a lot of new players and help to encourage our critical thinking through solving stuff, as long as you don't just copy paste someone else's strategy. And I definitely encourage you guys that are watching that you should try to solve them on your own. You get a good sense of pride and accomplishment, kappa kappa, for solving it on yourself.
I wonder how long that's going to stay around. Is that going to be like press F, where it just stays around for years?
It's just so good. It's just like the best.
It's amazing.
I know. Okay.
Press F to receive a sense of pride and accomplishment.
Let's look at more interesting stuff that came out. When did they do arena matchmaking changes? That was pretty early on,
It was.
I think.
I think it was early. I think it was around the introduction of skill inheritance, because people were worried about Fury spam. Someone in chat pointed that out a while ago.
They
I
went from
forgot
like
the name.
full what was it? Full BST was it, to incorporating skill BST, rarity merges and such. Was that what it was?
I think it. So stats gained from skills no longer counted as like BST for scoring.
Right.
Was the change.
But there was other additional score related things. Which was that?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how the formula was changed, because I don't remember the old formula.
Yeah, it
But
was
it's-
strictly BST before.
It was bad.
No.
Yeah.
How do you think that with the new upcoming arena changes they might do something drastic like that again, or do you think they're going to play it safe? Because they might burn
I doubt it.
burn a lot of people if they do any big changes about now.
My guess is that the upcoming arena changes will be a reduction in score variance, not actually a change in scoring rules. So basically, instead of getting scores from like 710 to 720, maybe you'll get scores that are like 715 to 720, like that kind of thing. But the impact of, I don't expect there to be many changes in terms of like what affects score and what should be optimized for score, if that makes sense. So like I think BST is going to count still. I think merges are going to count, SP cost, etc.
Yeah, hopefully they do change it just maybe a little bit to encourage people not to just use armors in arena. Maybe people who love using stuff that isn't armors, mages and archers, stuff like that, can make an appearance in arenas at the higher tiers. I feel like it should always have been more about your skill and less about using a certain unit type. So maybe they'll do that, but I feel like it probably would burn a lot of people at this point that have been accustomed to it.
It has like different methods of scoring have like pros and cons, right?
Easier to use range units, yeah. But even at this state of the game, I don't think I'd think that's the case. I think armors have become pretty easy to use now with all the changes we've had.
Yeah, I mean, magic users are the worst they've ever been. Right? Like tomes in general are not very strong right now, especially at high merges. It's just much more reliable to run powerful enemy phase distant counter builds.
So
But,
next up I
yeah.
have here, yeah, I agree with what you've said. Next up I have here is Tempest Trials. This got released back
Magic
in...
is everything.
I mean, you're with your name like Dire Thunder, like what do you expect? Magic is...
I don't know.
nice how you stop yourself.
Magic is still everything.
You're like, magic is. Like, magic users are. Can you just get a voice changer to Reinhardt and this would be 20,000 times better?
I'll just sample Reinhardt's voice and not just create a Reinhardt soundboard.
Yeah.
But sorry, what were you gonna say?
So back in June 7th was our first release of the very first Tempest Trials. So I guess my first question would be to you and everyone in chat, what rank did you end up getting here, and how did you feel about this?
Oh, yes!
I don't even remember, man. I think it was probably... Did they even have rank rewards for the first TT?
They did. And it was the same ones as they are now.
I don't know, probably low, because I remember being frustrated, and I didn't want to grind it anymore.
I think the funny part here is I remember doing it, and this is how my Reinhardt originally got capped on Hero Merit. I used, and Xander too, I used, this was probably like the best way and only way maybe to succeed back then, unless you were like plus 10ing a lot of units. Both Reinhardt and Xander back then had always been sticking together, and I used like Horsies galore in the first Tempest Trials, because there was no, you had to Lunatic 7 every single time, and I definitely ended up in the top 1k as a result of that. But I was like Reinhardt spam, Xander spam, Cecilia spam, and I think my fourth Horsey was definitely like Clarine. I think Clarine was like my fourth horse, but yeah, it was like spam Reinhardt every day, all day to succeed in the first one, because it was really difficult. You made like one mistake,
I mean,
and you were done.
Because there was no enemies didn't have any permanent damage, did they? Didn't enemies fully heal?
Yep. And you didn't get bonus stats.
And Veronica was really strong because she had boosted stats and Fury.
I had Green Tonebreaker, not because of the arena meta, but because of Veronica on the first Tempest Trials on Xander.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the type of stuff I had to do back then for those juicy 10,000 feathers. Back then, feather accumulation hadn't amped up so much until Tempest Trials started becoming a thing. So we were, as soon as I saw the opportunity for tons of feathers here, I was like, oh my god, I gotta get top 1k, I gotta get these 10,000 feathers. So yeah, I was basically Lunatic 7ing for a good 2 weeks playing this mode non-stop. I started my content on Twitch back in August, September, so this was obviously just me being on my bed or couch all day playing Fire Emblem Heroes like a nerd.
Yeah, just looking at chat, right? Like, what I did is what seems like a lot of people were doing is they would have like their bonus unit team that would get them to the Veronica level, and then they would have their kill Veronica squad that they would bring in for that final map, where you'd have like, okay, this team got me here, and then I'll switch to my team of like 2 red units with buffs to actually take care of this dumb mage that just won't die.
Yeah, I actually expected my horse team to not even succeed. I think this is why I went in with like no bonus unit and then switched to bonus unit in the second match, because I think I had a really low success rate on getting through all 7 maps with all 4 horses. It was really hard, and I remember switching into a bonus unit on the second match all the time. And then like the occasional time where I did succeed, I remember like, oops, I forgot to lose. And like lost all the bonus points. Yeah. Like surrender it on the last map or something like that,
Yeah, I mean, Tempest Trials is, I think it is the best piece of recurring content that we have. So, Grand Hero battles, once you beat them, you're kind of done until we get a rerun. But Tempest Trials are good for spending stamina, they have good rewards, and you can get a lot of secondary rewards too, like SP, Hero Merit, etc. So it's just like a mode that gets you a bunch of stuff and can be fun to play. And now that we have the bonus points, you don't need to grind it into the dirt unless you're chasing those really high ranks.
Yeah, back then, Quick Impulse,
also,
guys.
Free 5-star unit.
First reward here was basically a Lucina copy at 5-star, which was Marth. Breath of Life's 1 seal, which nobody cares about even to this day. And Quick Impulse, which still sees usage and is one of my most recommended seals to this day, because it's so impactful on so many builds. So if you had it back then, you had a great advantage in arena content or any real content, and if you didn't, you basically were like screwed out of luck. Like, what's the term? You're just like tough luck, man, because you weren't going to see it for probably at least like 4 to 5 months until the next refinery thing came out. The Forge.
Isn't Quick Impulse the only seal that we had a rerun of? Like, didn't we get a rerun of it?
Yes, you're right. I think we did get a rerun on the mini Tempest Trials. The first mini Tempest Trials, we got a rerun of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the first mini Black Knight?
No, it was Marth.
I think so.
Marth was on there.
Was it Marth?
Yeah, it was Marth.
Ah, okay. I mean, I think I share the opinion of Mini when I say that mini Tempest Trials are better than full Tempest Trials.
I agree. I agree as well. Yeah.
Overall, I like Tempest Trials a lot. It's our only like really meaningful PvE mode.
Yep, and it's a shame that it's not as like more challenging, and then the most efficient way is to just auto battle it. In terms of like the most efficient way, not for stamina. Most efficient way for stamina is always going to be Lunatic 7. The most efficient way for points is to auto battle it. So you end up in the situation of, do you value your time more than your stamina, and that's pretty much your decision to make there. I feel like maybe they should introduce like an Inferno mode, maybe, but they'll have to play a pretty good balancing act here to make sure that it doesn't annoy people. And I don't know how you could get around this, but I would definitely like more challenge in the Tempest Trials personally.
I think the easiest way would just be to add like a very high stamina cost mode that is meant to be played manually, so that if you can clear it, you can still spend your stamina efficiently, but you don't need to sit there for like 4 hours a day playing Tempest Trials.
True.
So like,
so like
a
a
mode that maybe
50
costs like
50
stamina.
Yeah.
And then there's like a risk reward factor where it's like, well, can you actually kill this 100 HP boss? If not, then good luck.
That would actually be really fun. I'd be on board with that.
Yep.
So after our special heroes with spring, I think after that we ended up with having bridal units and then the summer units, and now we finally started to see them come back. But I think we should probably maybe talk about this in general with the legendary banners. So let's skip on a little bit and talk about our first legendary banner, which ended up happening in
Oh, you want to skip over Era?
I'm just kidding. Let's talk about Era.
Time for Era chat.
Yeah, where's Era?
So Era is one of 2 units that I would say is a mistake. Like, Era was a mistake. And people were rightfully upset because we kind of got bait and switched. Well, bait and switch isn't fair, because it was incorrect of us to assume that Era would be free, but that was also a dick move, let's be real. Like, that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, for anybody that actually liked the genealogy units, I didn't really feel I didn't feel like obligated to pull for any of these 4 when I saw them, because I had no connection to them. So for me, it wasn't a big deal when I saw the units. But if these were like role switch, like for example, if Ira ended up being Mia here, I probably would have like quit the game from frustration. Just because it would have been like, oh my god, this was so scummy. But yeah, I definitely did what I preach, which is like not spend money on the game during this time of the game, because it was my way of saying, like, this is a company makes money, and here we go, I'm just gonna voice my opinion. At this point, I was like actually Twitch streaming as well, and I was telling people like, don't spend money here. I won't, and I'll lead by example and make sure we need to not wail here. I probably fell on a lot of deaf ears, because I still know that plenty of people ended up doing it anyways, and a lot of the content creators, I think, said it, but then it ended up not really following what they said and stuff. So yeah.
So most of like the heroes, content creators that I follow and I talk to were all upset with Era, and I didn't spend money on that banner. Other people that I've spoken to didn't spend money on that banner, although let's be real, when you get to tier 20, there's a lot of plus 10 eras. So people bought that banner. Yeah, it was a gigantic mistake. Like, it was both a messaging error, it was huge power creep. I mean, like, to this day, Era is still the best or second best red unit. Like, pretty much categorically, right?
For sure. I mean, and all of my suggestions for people building units always has to take Ira into consideration. Now Zelgius as well, but Ira as well.
Yep.
But yeah, okay, so we have
Zelgius,
a good question.
there's
good question.
Sorry, a question in chat. The second mistake, that would be Zelgius. I think Zelgius is the second, like, mistake unit that was printed.
The question right above, Asterisk Batman, with that mistake, was asking whether you think the BST boost was a mistake or the way she was released. And I think we're both going to say that it was both. Right?
Yeah. So increasing BST is not necessarily bad. And the reason for that is that at launch, the difference between movement classes was not that big. Like, the difference between melee cavalry, for example, and melee infantry was like, what, 3 BST? Like, I think it was like 3 stat points. It was not very big.
Elwood had 155, and he was actually to this day still in the same BST bin as someone who's like Crom. Like, Crom and Elwood actually give the exact same scoring in Arena, for example.
So by adding BST to infantry and armor units, they have effectively justified using those movement classes more, if that makes sense. So you're basically trading utility, or you're trading mobility and range for stats. So if you look at it that way, you can say that is a corrective form of power creep. Now, I also fully understand the counter argument, which is like, they set like rules for BST, right? Like trainee units and the trainee bonus. And breaking those rules was a problem because players cannot expect it. By breaking the BST allocation rules, we now have a situation where we don't know which units will have what BST, so we have to just wait and see which units are pushed as chase units on every banner, and that sucks.
I want to mention something.
I don't like that at all.
I want to mention something also that's very crucial to the release of Ira. This was the first time that a unit that canonically never actually had a legendary weapon was released with a legendary weapon, and you could tell that it was very low effort by the name literally being Ira's Blade. And also breaking it.
Aaron didn't get her personal weapon until the refinery update. What are you talking about?
Oh, Slaying Edge, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. We haven't got there yet.
She started with just a really good silver sword.
Yep. And her base kit being absolutely bonkers. The only thing you really needed to add was like a C skill and an assist skill, and you were good to go back then.
Yep. I'm not against adding personal weapons and personal skills, because one of the big issues facing heroes in the very long term is that there are only so many stat allocations that can be distributed, and a lot of those stat allocations are bad, right? So if you have a unit, Alm is actually a great example of this, where Alm at launch, when you compare him to say Crom or Lucina, was kind of bad, right? Like he has kind of janky stats.
I can relate to this really well. When someone sent me an Alm to look at, and I'm like, I don't know what you can do with him.
But when you add in like really powerful uninheritable effects, you can create tactical uses for characters. So like Alm went from being this kind of like janky bad falchion to being a really strong tank buster, and that's good. Now I think the design of Aira's blade is really weird, because I think if they had looked at it, they would have realized that it doesn't actually work that well with her special because she's so fast. But, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it did seem like a little low effort on Ira, personally. I mean, they just put like a bunch of powerful skills on her, gave her a non-effort kind of like weapon, and called it a day. That's what I saw out of it. And then you saw like the first example of skill power creep here as well. So Ragnar Astra on Ira being non-inheritable. This is the first time we had a non-inheritable skill, and I mean, not including a non-inheritable special, not a non-inheritable skill, because that could apply to weapons, but non-inheritable skill. And also you saw stuff like Daedra and Zygarde having the Divine Turfing and Divine Naga respectively, compared to Seliph and Julia. To this day, I don't really think Divine Naga is so much better than the original Naga, but obviously anybody's going to look at Divine Turfing and say that this weapon has so much more practical usage than the original Turfing. And I felt like Intelligent Systems was definitely learning at this point what they wanted to do with the game and the direction they wanted to take. This was like the first direction in that.
Yes, I would say that. Did we actually skip over Choose Your Legends? I think we did. But I would say that the Choose Your Legends update and the FE4 banner, the genealogy banner, were the the first two instances where we got units that were designed to be good units, if that makes sense. Like, all the good units we had up to that point were kind of just like, they were good because they happened to be good. But I think at this point in the game, when we get to Choose Your Legends and Genealogy, we see units that are designed to be powerful. Because, you know, there's a much better understanding of which stats are good and which stats are bad, and how you can make a character good.
See, I think we skipped over the Brave Heroes, the Choose Your Legends one, because I personally think that this was a good moment in the game, not a bad one. Even though people are going to probably might disagree with this, because they see Bravelyn and they're always oppressed by Bravelyn in Arena. But in my opinion, I feel like Choose Your Legends was definitely a step in the right direction for like the content that they were creating, because it kind of like in terms of as kind of like a customer of the game, letting choose your favorite heroes is a step in the right direction. It wasn't just like a straight up money grab. We can compare this to Hero Rises in a bit, but honestly, Choose Your Legends at least was approached in a more sensible way, and they definitely were learning how to make really good, things here.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, it makes sense. If you have characters that are popular, that your player base really likes, then you should probably make them good. Whether Bravelyn ended up being too good is a separate discussion, but it was nice that these units were good, and it was even better that they were made available for free. Well, one was made available for free.
Yeah, I mean, no one's expecting all four here. That's definitely... I would never have expected all four, and I don't think anyone should ask for that. But definitely one for free here was really important. Mine was Lynn, obviously, because it was my favorite character, and I ended up... actually, because I expected this, I ended up saving a lot of orbs for this banner as well, and getting a bunch of copies of Brave Lynn. And then I realized it's not really that much fun to play with her, because she's so binary in terms of playstyle. So she's been on the bench for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Brave Lynn, I don't think she's actually an issue in and of herself. I think she's a problem because she shines a light on the real thing that is warping the metagame, which is distant counter. The fact that distant counter has no health requirement, like other skills have health-based requirements, like above a certain health or below a certain health. The fact that distant counter is always on means that if you are in combat with a unit that has distant counter and you are a ranged unit, you either can kill them or you die because of quick riposte, right? So a unit like Lynn was so powerful because she sidestepped that. And so when people say that Lynn is a problem because she avoids distant counter, I'm kind of like, well, actually she's really strong because distant counter is actually oppressing a lot of other ranged units. It pushes ranged units out of the metagame, right? Unless they're incredibly high damage.
I think this was a good thing, in my opinion. To be able to cause units that weren't...
I think Bravelyn was, in some weird ways, healthy. I would have preferred if she didn't have a horse. I think the movement is the problem. But like the idea of an archer that sidesteps distant counter is not itself bad. Like Fire Sweep Bow is obviously really strong, but people had been handling Cordelia for a couple months at this point, right?
Yep, even to this day I don't have a Bridal Cordelia myself. And I actually like the effect of Mullagear enough that I've never really changed it to Fire Sweep or Brave Bow, just because I like the ability to have an enemy phase on a unit. Even if it's not that great on Lynn, I just felt like I never really liked the binary playstyle on any units, really. I feel like flexibility has always been my preferred type of playstyle for a lot of units, where they can do like both phases, and it's just like a little preference. So when I see units that are kind of too binary, like a life and death mage that relies on one-shotting things but can't really do anything else, it's not my preferred playstyle. I say this as I created not too long ago, like a couple of days ago, I one-shot Lilina build with Blazing Wind and 3 infantry pulses and a quick impulse. but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a gimmick, and I don't really like gimmick playstyles too much. You use Noe
Infantry
and
Pulse is a
ATK.
great example. Yeah, like Infantry Pulse is a great example of a skill that, like, if you put your mind to it, you can make incredibly uninteractive and unfun teams by abusing Infantry Pulse. Like, I've lost more than a handful of arena runs to, like, Sonias that have charged Iceberg at the start of a map.
I've charged Glacies. Don't even talk about Iceberg. I ran into charged Glacies. Like, my red unit gets destroyed on a defense tile. I'm like, what is
like
this
I'm not
game?
paying attention, and you're like, oh, how do I actually deal with this on the enemy phase? So yeah, and that's kind of the situation where we're at now, is that the enemy phase units are now the uninteractive ones, right? Because of the power of auto doubling skills and special accelerators, you need to be able to survive a double, and if you can't, then you're screwed. If you want to enemy phase them down. So what ends up happening is that the best builds for fighting enemy phase units tend to be other enemy phase units. So you have this kind of meta game where we're just bumping armors and dragons into each other, and whoever has the enemy phase wins.
Yep. So I feel like we can jump into actually the winter banner with the armors, and then we can branch into a discussion on whether you should be spending on these sort of, like whether spending on the game is a good idea and not when you feel like you're obligated to pull on something like this. And the reason I want to talk about the winter banner in particular was, compared to many other special seasonal banners, the winter banner was actually 14 days. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but it had a very, very short term appearance. And remember, it came after a legendary banner as well, like not probably like a week or two, I think, after legendary banner. So let's kind of look at it, see what it did to the meta, and then how people reacted to it.
I mean, winter banner is, it's a thing. Winter banner is what set the stage for the metagame that we currently live in. Vengeful Fighter and Bold Fighter are insane. I think Bold Fighter is the single strongest skill in the game. Like, I think Bold Fighter is actually just unfair, broken nonsense. Because being able to auto double with no health requirement on units that have 175 BST and no speed is dumb. Like, it's really, really dumb. I mean, Zelgius, right? Like, even before Zelgius, units like Winter Lissa and Winter Crom with Bold Fighter were already scary, and now we have to survive guaranteed activation Black Luna. Just what?
Yeah, this is...
And none of that would be possible without the Christmas update.
Don't forget, there's also a lot of special things that happened with this winter banner. Was that this banner lasted 14 days, and the Tempest Trials was also a 14-day Tempest Trials, but had only these 4 units as 40% bonus units, and that was in the middle of this banner, on top of there being a complete drought in content other than being Tempest Trials and Voting Gauntlet. Literally nothing was happening other than banners being released after Book 2. We had 2 story chapters released at once in November, the end of November, with a legendary banner, and that seemed pretty awesome because we thought we would get, like, you know, an update or content every month. But then December was literally no content. The first time we've never had content, a 2-week banner with these insane units that changed metagame. And on top of that, it was really unfriendly to free-to-play during a winter season, which is supposed to be about giving in most other games. So here's what I did, like, personally. I don't know how you can relate to this, Dire, but when the Ira incident happened, and I tell this to people a lot, I don't... The Ira incident. The Ira incident. Yeah, I didn't spend any money in the game because I was like, oh my god, the game is, like, it's dying. It's gonna die, you know, like, you know, this is a disaster. Like, why would they do this? So I didn't personally spend money back then, and then the winter banner happened. We got nothing, no content. I was like, oh my god, like, what is going on? Why are these guys all armored? Why is Tharja in armor? Like, what is going on here? And on top of that, I didn't have a 40% bonus unit for Tempest Trials. I completely avoided this banner. I didn't summon at all. Didn't spend any money on this game for, like, literally 2 months after this banner, until I finally saw them working in the right direction. Even to this day, actually, I'm really happy with the new content coming out. I don't know if we'll have enough time to touch on it, but maybe we'll say that for another session. But yeah, I'm like, now I'm in a state, I'm like, finally, you know, they're making some good decisions. And back then I was like, oh my god, I'm not like, I'm just gonna play for fun and that's it. But I don't know if my money is in the right place here. And you know, I struggled through Tempest Trials. If you're a new player, this was like the worst time to start playing the game.
So this Tempest Trials for me was pretty easy, but this was the Tempest Trials where Naui was a bonus. So GG. It was over. I think this update was the best example of banners are not content, right?
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Just having a amazing banner that was Christmas themed is not content. The content was Tempest Trials, but then actually putting all of the bonus units on the banner. Was this the first time every bonus unit, every 40% was on the banner? Is this like the first time that happened?
You couldn't get the 40% bonus units after a week. This is the first time that happened. The first time it happened with all 40% bonus units being from a banner was the Mia one, Mia Dorcas loot, but the 4th unit was Brave Ike, I think. So most people might have had Brave Ike there. And it was like fine, like, you know, a lot of people had Brave Ike. It still kind of burned some people there, but this is the first time seasonal units were a 40% bonus unit, and they were all from the banner. And if you skip the banner, I struggled. I wasted at least like 50 stamp pots on this trying to get top 1k. That was agonizing. That was really agonizing. I agree with you with Noe, like she capped HM really easy here, but I mean, it's 20% more stamina pots than I had to use from the guy that ended up using the armors. And armors were really easy to auto battle this. If you had them, like, it was a joke. It was like miles difference between somebody using the 40% bonus units and not, because it was so easy with Tharja literally close countering, inflated stats, destroying everything on every map.
Yep. I mean, like, I think my auto battle team for this Tempest Trials was like Christmas Tharja and you know, Naui and 2 randos who just needed hero merit. It didn't matter. Like, Lunatic 7 auto battle was done. Ship it. Also, I think chat is right. I think
Ira was the first. Sorry, I'm sorry, guys. That was the second time. They kept doing it. Basically, they kept doing it, and even to this day, with these seasonal units all being on the 40% are also pretty. Like, I don't like that approach. I think it hurts a lot. And if these characters on the current seasonal banner weren't some of my favorites here, with Hector and Lynn being on there, like, I would again not want to pull on them, and I'd be struggling through a 20% run again. Hopefully, I can get Lynn tonight and train her up in Tempest Trials, but I'm just saying, like, as a person, like, now I'm in a good state. Like, I like the game in its current state. There are some things wrong with it, but in general, I'm quite happy with the game, especially with the news that came out today. How do you feel about what they try to do to make people spend money? Like, this is the first time I think they targeted whales. How do you feel about that? Is this the first time you say they targeted whales with this banner?
So I would
Lisa
say
here
the
broke
Christmas
the BST
banner
banner.
is the...
Lisa
I would
broke
say
it.
Aira was the first. I would say Aira is the very first pure whale bait. But I think Christmas was the most transparent whale bait. Like Aira was, people kind of got tricked by Aira, but the Christmas banner was 100% throw money at this and get awesome stuff. It was gross. And thankfully they've kind of toned that down a little bit. Hopefully, I think.
I mean, Zelgius was in like January, right? I mean,
Zelgius
we can talk about Grima a bit. We can talk about Grima a bit, I think, to compare it. Grima is actually, maybe some people might call him like a whale bait, but I actually would think not. If you want to compare, like, let's compare Ira Zelgius with Grima, right? So I've mentioned this a couple times myself, and you as players, when you guys send me units, I'm always like, on a blue lance unit, guys, you need to put lance sword breaker on your units. You need to put guard. You need to put all these units to counter these specific meta units, because if you don't, you will die. Your blue unit will die to these units because they are that oppressive. And comparing that to like Grima, which actually just recently came out after a Falchion Refinery update, and most of the meta being armors, like a lot of them in there, him sharing the dragon and the armor weakness is actually quite good for the metagame, in my opinion. So I don't think he's oppressive at all, nor is he a whale bait in any way, because he's great as a unit, but he has too many weaknesses. So he's not like Zelgius and Ira, who you need to build units around. You are probably using some sort of armor counter, or you've probably already set up for beating the Noes, the Adaltikis, or the Murs that are flying around in arena right now. You already have those counters in place, so they're kind of like secondary. What do you think? Hello? Dire Thunder?
Back, sorry, I had to step away for just a second.
I was just talking about Ira and Zelgius compared to Grima, and how Grima has weaknesses. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so the best way I think I can compare Aira, the Winter Banner, and Zelgius is by thinking about how the power creep was framed, right? So Aira and the Christmas units were just amazing. Like, they were designed to be the best units ever, and they are. Zelgius was handled differently in that he was power creep over a free unit that everyone had and liked. So because Zelgius power creeped something that was free, I think a lot of people were more okay with him. Once you start fighting, a lot of plus 10 teams, you realize just how dumb Zelgius is. But I think a lot of free-to-play players or casual players didn't really appreciate how badly Zelgius power creeped armor, because they didn't really see that he was that much better than Black Knight, if that makes sense. The Christmas units, of course, they just came out of nowhere and said, nah, we're in an armor metagame now. Too bad, people. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard the armor metagame, yeah.
I think Arena Assault for, the weeks after Christmas was just, how many Winter Tharja answers do you have? And it was rough.
How do you think we as players make the right decisions to improve the game? Between, I don't want to label people as, I don't want to stereotype people, but it's kind of what people are used to. So if we compare maybe the person who spends no money, the people who spend, lots of money, and the people who may spend a little bit. So let's compare it to, this is my first and foremost opinion, so you can work on it based on that. So here personally, I am what you'd call a minor spender, or a decent spender. Not minor, sorry, that's totally wrong. A spender when it counts. So what that means is I spend money because I feel like when the game makes right decisions, I spend money. When the game doesn't make right decisions, I withhold money, because as a company, this is important for them to realize, hey, this is the time that people are spending money. This is what we need to do to continue producing good content. Whereas if you actually, and I've said this a lot, if you don't spend money in the game at all, there is absolutely no way for the creators to know what will get you to spend money. If you're completely free to play, I have actually argued that is detrimental to the game's experience, because if you spend just a little bit when they make a good content decision, you've given them a message to say, okay, that person just opened up their wallet for the first time, and that we need to reproduce that sort of content again. So for example, the starter support pack was great, and I feel like if they keep producing that, I'm going to be on board with definitely throwing in my wallet when it counts. But for those of you that spend too much money on every single banner, that's also detrimental to the game, regardless of what changes come to the game. So for example, we have content coming out now. I'm going to say, okay, great, here's some money. Good job, Intelligent Systems. Droughts in December, no money. IRA incident, no money. So how do you approach this, Dire Thunder, and how do you tell people what to do when it comes to, how can we do things as players?
So this is, I guess we're just going to jump into this. This is probably going to take the rest of the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
The Fire Emblem Heroes is a game that really wants you to spend either no money or a lot of money. What I mean by that is I think that Heroes is one of the most casual spender, unfriendly gachas I've ever played. We don't have the mid-level purchases that have good return on the money spent for those players to spend money on. So if you're the kind of player who's comfortable spending, let's say, $10 a month, $20 a month, right? Maybe something like that. The game isn't really doing anything for you. The game is just saying, okay, here's your 30 orbs, and good luck, Godspeed, right?
Good luck. I totally agree.
So if you want to get stuff out of the game by spending money, you need to spend a shitload of money. You need to spend a lot of money. We're talking multiple hundreds at the bare minimum, right? And if you're not willing to spend that much, then I'd say just don't spend it all. Maybe buy the starter pack because, Black Knight's awesome. But other than that, you're not going to get anything for your investment.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest trap most people have, and that's expectations.
Yeah, and so the way that I put it is that I think there are 3 ways to spend money in Fire Emblem Heroes. The first way is just be free to play, right? The second way is to do what you're talking about, which is the tip jar kind of spending. You don't have an expectation of getting awesome units or great skills. You're just saying, I want to financially support a game that makes decisions I like, right? And then the third way is just to say, screw it and go to Whale Town. And if you want to be a whale, then you need to be financially capable of doing that, right? And if you aren't, then don't. That's the way I look at it. If we get more stuff like the starter support pack, let's say we get a $20 pack that has a Tempest Trials unit, maybe a Sacred Seal in it, something like that. Yeah, okay, maybe buy that if it's, you know, valuable for you. But otherwise, what are you going to get?
Yeah, I think that's important. But how do you feel about people like as players? Like, how should people spend their money if they choose to spend their money, or not at all? You've touched on you know, how you would approach playing the game using your money, but because people have expectations, thinking they're going to get the unit they want with their money, how do we as players influence the game in the right direction? I touched on this a little bit, but do you agree with that approach? Do you think people should remain free to play forever? Is that actually
financial
healthy?
advice is? I think financial advice is weird, because money has different value to different people, right?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. I, as a youngster, or some people that can't, then they don't have a choice. But if you do have that choice, I guess, or that's stigmatized so poorly. Like, people think if you're free to play, that you're like a better, you're helping the game more than someone who does pay. Like, there's so weird. Like, how do we educate people on this?
I mean, I think that I'm not gonna say that you have like a moral obligation to buy orbs. That's ridiculous. But I think that if you enjoy the game and you want to support it, then you should support it when it does things that are good. So as far as that goes, I agree with your approach there. The magnitude of that support is not that significant, right? Like, for example, maybe you're free to play, but you've only ever bought the starter pack.
I actually completely agree. Completely agree.
If that's what you think is value, then sure, go for it. I'm not gonna judge you for it, and you're still gonna have a good time.
Totally agree. Value is, the company doesn't see how much you spend. They see what you spend.
I like in chat where it's BK to play. I think that's good.
BK to play. Filthy Whales free to play, by the way. See, this is what I mean. I mean, that's a joke. I know that's a joke, but I mean, a lot of people actually do that. Like, they actually think that if a person spends money in the game, that there's some sort of scum. No, that if they choose to spend at the right times, doesn't matter how much, then they've helped the game in a better direction. I think if a person spends money, doesn't matter the value. Agree. This is why I didn't use the words whales, dolphins, or how much you spend, but rather that whether you spend or not is what I'm going with the direction here. And if you choose to spend, even if it's $5, during a time of the game's good, like if you spent on the winter banner, for instance, that was in my opinion, a bad decision, because you're giving intelligence systems the wrong message. If you spent during the IRA incident, you gave them the wrong message. If you spent during the BK support pack, that's a good message, because then they can bring more of those out, provide value for those that don't spend a lot, and it also says, hey, you know, we want to appeal to all people, not just whales, you know?
So, for example, let's take a hypothetical where after Tempest Trials ends, we can't get those units again, right? Let's say a month after Tempest Trials ends, there's a $10 pack in the store that has 25 orbs and the 5-star unit. Like, that's the kind of like purchase tier that we're missing, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that, and it's a one-time purchase, obviously. So that's the kind of thing that casual spenders or light spenders don't have available. You just don't get enough when you buy orbs, so for a lot of people, it's smarter to just not buy, whether you want to support or not. I don't know. I think.
Yeah, no. The value is irrelevant.
That's coming through clearly, but
no, I don't encourage people to spend hundreds of dollars to support the game when they're making good decisions. I expect people to spend like just to buy the starter support pack when it seems right, to buy maybe five orbs, like, or something, to say, yeah, we've sent a message that we've done something right. The problem is most people interpret this as like, what do I get out of it? I'm gonna get a Bartra.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not the point. You're not supposed to spend for Bartra. You don't walk in with an expectation. The point is that we're trying to make the game we love better.
So the to bring things back to Fire Emblem, actual Fire Emblem, right? Okay, Heroes is actual Fire Emblem, but whatever. My favorite part of Radiant Dawn is Part 1. Why is Part 1 of Radiant Dawn my favorite part? Because all of the units are terrible. Like, trying to beat difficult maps using terrible units is really fun. Like, I enjoy that. I think that is very satisfying.
I used Leonardo, Edward, Soth, Micaiah, all in my like final endgame, by the way, so I can totally relate. I actually used like all of them from the initial like brigade, except I think I used Nolan as well. I think I used all of them except I did use the whole brigade actually in my end game. I agree with you, but what is it? What's your point?
So like I think that it can be just as, if not more fun, to play a game making do with what you have, not with what you want, right? I'll use cheating in games as an example. One of the easiest ways for me to ruin a game is by cheating. Like, let's say I'm playing a game on PC and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to mess with this. I'll just give myself a bunch of money using cheat engine, right? That can like hurt the game, like for me. And it's kind of one of those things where in Heroes, if you decide to throw a bunch of money at a banner because you just want to have the really cool, powerful thing, then you're actually missing out on a lot of gameplay opportunities for units that aren't that powerful.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Again, we're on the same page here. I use so many like non-meta units. I think everyone knows about my Merrick on stream by now. 32 attack Merrick. the glorified pity breaker.
So instead, if you try to chase the whale metagame and you aren't a whale, you're going to run out of orbs and the game's going to be miserable. But if you just say, I want to use the units that I like because I like them as characters, and I'm willing to save up orbs to pull Grima because I think Grima's cool, or whatever, right? I think that is like a more satisfying way to play that is also more casual spending friendly. Because let's say you save up 200 orbs and you're pulling for Grima, and you go, you know what, I'll get 75 more. I'll 300 orbs of Grima, and you get him. You got what you wanted, right? If you set your expectations correctly, the game is more fun, in my opinion. And I think that's like the key. If you go in expecting to have busted units with busted skills and perfect IVs, it's a train wreck.
Yeah, and this is the biggest problem I see with people who always walk in with like regret after spending. They're always like, I spent like not necessarily money, but orbs in general. They're trying to chase the metagame, trying to get every single unit that's following the hype. And I always try to tell people to avoid the hype and play with your favorite units, or even give your like 3 or 4 star units like a chance. Like there's favorites in the 3 to 4 star. What happened to Niles, guys? Like he was one of the most popular. He was in the top 20 Choose Your Legends, and now he's less popular than Riss, and he's a 3 star. Come on. Like you don't have to follow every single hype train on every single new unit. Give some of these lesser known units a chance. Give them some love. Don't be upset when you get your pity breaker Merrick. Be happy.
So there is a confounding factor here, right? Part of the reason that the expectations are set so high for units is that our only meaningful endgame content is the arena, and in the arena you need to be using powerful units, right? So if you sit there and you're fighting against plus 10 Zelgius and Mur all the time, and you're going like, man, I can't fight these things with my 5-star Sheena. Right? Or actually, Sheena's a bad example because Sheena's awesome, but like Kayn, right? Like someone who's just bad.
Kayn. I think Kayn is not actually that bad.
Then it feels like
he can quad.
Every Kayn Kenny, what's his speed? Isn't it like 20s?
He's a good brave sword user with Kayn. You're thinking of Luke.
No, Luke is panic ploy on legs. That boy doesn't exist to fight. He exists to make other people stronger. But either way, the point is that like, because arena is what defines the game and how we evaluate units, naturally we think the premium whale bait, really strong units are the best units, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Chat loves. Chat's going crazy. I think 32. Okay, I take it back. 32 is pretty good.
You're just used to him being like,
like
in the 20s because of Brave Sword. That's why. Brave Sword ranks in the 27.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I knew his stat spread wasn't that bad. I have one. I have a plus attack or plus speed. I don't remember what it was. Kayn, and he did some work from time to time.
So that's why the introduction of new content is really important, right? Because stuff like the GHB Elite quests got me to think about using units that I wouldn't normally use. Okay, good example. Remember all those very old GHB guides where people are like, hey, Tsubaki's really good. You never see him in arena, but for old Grand Hero battles, Tsubaki was like a lifesaver.
Hello, Fjorm is now officially taken that spot. She's in like every single completing
Guide,
yeah, and she's not that great in arena. I mean, she's okay, but I wouldn't consider like top.
It depends whether we're talking about score or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Fjorm's in every guide nowadays.
That's why having repeatable endgame PvE content, like content that isn't tied to the arena metagame, is really important. Because in that type of content, we can have situations where units that aren't good in arena, that aren't score optimized, right, can shine. Like, that's the situation where you go like, yeah, I'm gonna use this random, pity breaker Merrick or Seth or whoever, right? Whatever pity breaker has,
I wish I could use my Merrick in the top of arena. I wish, but I'm not allowed to, so I have to destroy the 700 score plebs because he doesn't have any merges and he's a mage. But it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
So it's it's two things. There's an expectation problem where I think people summon with an expectation that they will get units instead of just summoning because they want to support the game. And there is a content problem where the way that we evaluate units is tied entirely to the arena, when that shouldn't be the only way we look at units. If I had to distill like 20 minutes of discussion into one sentence.
Yeah, all good points. I think we summed it up pretty well. And I'm going to be summoning after Dire Thunder's gone, just to, with my very little expectation to get Lyn, but at this point I've spent enough orbs to say that hopefully I get her. But if I don't, then
actually, I have 5 orbs right now. What am I pulling? Give me a pull.
You're pulling. Well, what do you? At least give me a color that you're going for.
Give me a banner. Give me a banner.
Lava Bound's green has the highest odds for a YOLO summon on a green.
Oh man, not cursed banner.
Screw the cursed banner. Go for green. And,
all right, there's no green. There's no green.
Okay,
red or blue.
Blue for Lyn, because.
Or actually, there's no red. Yeah.
Blue. Come on. Okay, if you get Lyn, I'm just gonna end the stream right now, because I'd be really salty, because I haven't got her yet.
All right, it's Effie.
Okay.
Rip.
Well, Warrior Fighter for the our arena meta, right? Yep.
Plus speed minus res. GG.
Send home. Nice job.
Reasons not to buy orbs.
Pretty good. At least he YOLO summoned. You gave me your random YOLO over here. Okay, so since I know you have about like 12ish minutes left until you gotta go, I think we can spend a good like 12 minutes talking to chat. Do you think you'll make another appearance on my stream maybe in the future?
I mean, this is fun. I just need to make sure the fire alarm doesn't go off.
Okay. The plan is definitely, guys, like every week I'm going to try to bring somebody from the Fire Emblem Heroes community onto the stream. It's going to range from as analytical and great discussion that we had with Dire Thunder, but I'm planning to probably make it more dynamic. Not every single guest is going to be like this. We're going to probably have different types of discussions, so to speak. But yeah, let's go through some questions that the chat may have after our great analytical discussions tonight. I think we covered a lot of things, but there's still definitely going to be lots of things we could go over. So guys,
I like Dire Alarm.
So yeah, let's go through chat and until you gotta go. First question that I see is, what do I think of the new refinements? Leo finally got some love. Erica finally got some love. Soren was kind of unexpected, but a lot of people called him like a bad Nino, which I would disagree with. I think Soren's actually great. I mean, because of his res stat.
Soren is a plus Tellius minus speed Nino. Like, that's what he is.
Plus Tellius? Did you say plus Tellius?
Boy. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to Soren's the most because I like Soren a lot as a character. I don't know. It's going to be... I'm excited for all of them. I think Soren is the most immediately exciting because he was the unit that was kind of... I would say hurt the most. Like Leo, even though Leo's not an amazing unit, Leo still has a niche as a cavalry mage. Like, he can still just do cavalry mage stuff, whereas Soren was kind of caught between the green mage is a very competitive category.
Don't sleep on the fact that Leo still has the most tankiest mage red cavalry stats. Slowest speed, which can work in his advantage to get quick riposte, icebergs off, and with horse buffs he reaches like defensive stats that could be high 30s. So he's actually pretty good with like close counter or owl tomes, even blade. Like he can make all those work, as opposed to Erica, which can't.
Yeah, Erica, I'm a little worried that unless her refine is completely insane, it won't really help. I think the days of Erica and Blade Mage are mostly over. If you want to use a Blade Mage, you should probably be using an Armored Mage or a Cavalry Mage still. Or a Flyer if you have one, but seasonal only, lol. There are a lot of ways to make it good, but her combat stats are just so bad. Like, she just can't fight in combat with all these crazy melee machines with, like, Bold Fighter. Like, what's her base attack? Isn't it like 29? Like, it's really low.
It's not. She's definitely been... She's good as a free-to-play unit. I mean, if you're going to merge her up, definitely. But if you...
Check Erica's stats. .26 at base. Oof.
Yeah, it's not too good. What do you think of the fact that we're getting Legendary Ike in Hero Rises? We can probably talk about that a little bit. Are you happy with that decision?
I mean...
I feel like I'm going to use him.
I think it's fine.
I'm going to use him. I'm going to make him work. I have some team comp options already with Defense Tactic and the Earth Blessing that I'm really excited to do with. But I feel like they probably should have let us just...
Pick one?
Pick one, yeah. It just seems like it wasn't handled very well. Or they might end up with like pulling out a banner here, and that would really rub people the wrong way.
I think the free Legendary Ike is it's very easy to lose sight of the new player experience, right? The fact that a new player... I think a brand new player will get much more out of Legendary Ike than any of the other units. Let me put it that way, right? Because red with distant counter is a very important job that you need to be able to do, and he's ready to go without any meaningful investment, right? So in that sense, I'm really happy that Legendary Ike won, because new players are going to be able to use him and Fjorm to make their way through the vast majority of content that they'll be experiencing in the first couple months of the game.
Yeah, since the content has actually increased in difficulty, I actually agree with you. I remember doing the story mode with like a bunch of low-level units, and the units have like Bold Fighter and Vengeful Fighter on them because of Grima and Harden, and I'm like, this is a nightmare if you don't know where to like what to do here. Like, it's actually annoying. Yeah.
I agree. It would have been my preference would have been let us pick from any of the winners, because everyone needs different things. Like, I would have picked originally I would have picked Legendary Ike, but now I think I would pick Hector, because I have more projects that need distant counter, and I'm out of Hectors.
Keep summoning on level bounce. It's basically my plan until the banner expires.
I ended up with 5 Lilinas and 0 Hectors. It's a cursed banner.
I have lost my book. It's
a very rough banner. But yeah, I mean, I think Legendary Ike is a fine pick. I think people who immediately fodder him off for Warding Breath are probably making a mistake, unless they already have one. But I don't know. I also just think Steady Breath is better than Warding Breath like 90% of the time anyway.
Yeah, I think they can both kind of work depending on what role the unit needs to have in their team. So I think the very important question in chat is, are you as good looking as your voice implies, Dire Thunder?
I mean, I would say no, but I really don't understand why people like my voice. I guess it's because that thing where I always hate the sound of my voice. Like, when I'm editing, it's like, oh man, this sounds terrible.
This is true.
How does anyone listen to this?
People think I have a good voice too, I guess, and I don't like my voice either. But apparently, this is actually psychologically true. I've read this somewhere that nobody likes the sound of their own voice, but apparently it may sound good to others.
Yeah, I mean, it seems the thing. I'll take it, I guess.
Yep.
There was a question about units I use in Arena. So my arena team is Adult, Tiki, Naui, and Nino. I like, of those as characters, I like Nino the most. The other two I'm mainly using because they are easily mergeable and incredibly busted. So it's just it's cruise control in tier 20 by running 2 dragons. But I'm using Nino because I think Nino's, cool. I like Nino as a character.
Oh boy.
What is happening in chat?
Do you have the emotes on for better TTV?
I don't think so.
Yeah, if people are spamming Pedo Bear, it's because if you have an add-on for Chrome that changes it into emotes, all you're gonna see is a bunch of Pedo Bears. Thumbs up. You need to enhance your Twitch experience, Dire Thunder.
But now that Soren's getting a personal weapon, I'll probably be replacing Nino with Soren because I like Soren more.
Yeah,
and then hopefully I can get merges on Ike, and then I can have Ike and Soren, the canon couple from Tellius.
I got the ally support with Ike as well. That's currently my ally support. And yeah, I don't even have a 5-star Nino. I have a 5-star +2 Soren. So I feel you. Go ahead and pick another question until you gotta go. Don't worry.
Let's see. There's a question. Do you think the Blessed Garden mode will be a pay-to-win mode or an everyone-friendly mode? It's aimed at you, so you should answer first.
I think he's probably asking both of us, but yeah, I do think that the Blessed Garden mode seems like it's a PvE mode and not a PvP mode. I feel like the other one is the what was it, Rival Domains? That feels like a kind of like a PvP mode, or like competitive in the aspect of going for score. But Blessed Garden seems like some sort of like a PvE mode where you just kind of like try to get through it, maybe a dungeon or something. I don't really know what to expect, to be honest, but I don't feel like they're going with the approach of it being pay to win, especially since even in the news for it, it said like, oh yeah, first anyone can jump right in, you get 4 water blessings to start. Like they actually said that. So I feel just from the message they're trying to imply right away, it seems like it's not supposed to be, tailored towards whales. I could be totally wrong on this, but
yeah, I agree. I think the garden mode is what's the best way to phrase it? The economy of blessings is being expanded, because I think they have realized that the blessing system as it currently exists is like really bad and kind of half-assed. So actually giving blessings to people is the best way to make people care about that system. So I think this mode is kind of it serves that. It encourages us to actually use our blessings, and it will make free-to-play players actually care about them. Let's see, chat.
Somebody
what
asked
do you think
about
Guard 3?
Hold on, I have a link to your video for this. Who was it that asked that? Let's see. What do you think?
I did make.
Oh yeah,
I made a video about Guard, but
here I have a direct link for you.
I made a video. I made a video about Guard a while ago. It's actually kind of outdated now because that was made before the Quick Riposte seal was introduced. And I would say before the introduction of the Quick Riposte seal, Guard was like an okay skill. But now that we have the Quick Riposte seal, Guard is an amazing skill. It is really, really strong. And the Guard Quick Riposte combo is, I think, something that most teams should have.
Have you seen my cron, by the way, Dire Thunder?
I don't think so.
Just open the stream for a second
and
mute it.
Does he have Guard and Quick Riposte?
I mean, I don't think you've seen him, but yeah, he's
yeah,
pretty...
this this Crom build
never dies to a single melee matchup in the whole meta, by the way. He can take on Death Blow, Brave Lance, Heffies with Swordbreaker. I'm not even kidding. Well, off a defense tile.
Like I would say that this kind of build, like the Steady Breath Guard Quick Riposte build, is like the enemy phase build. Like if I had to say if there's a pure enemy phase build, it is this. Because it actually is one of the few things that can survive Bold Fighter armors, that's what you need to fight on the enemy phase. Yep. And dragons too.
Yeah, this is I don't have 2 more comms, by the way. Yeah. Feels bad, man. Can't complete the tree.
I think I have time for a couple more questions. What do you guys think of the shift from the OHKO meta to the enemy phase meta? The enemy phase meta is just a 1-round KO meta, so we've replaced one-hit KO or brave KOs with 1-round KOs. Things haven't really changed that much. You're just doing all your killing on the enemy phase now instead of the player phase. Unless you're an armor unit, in which case, who cares? Because you just kill everything. The guaranteed auto double with special activation on Bold Fighter armors it's dumb. It's the best build in the game, in my opinion.
Bold Fighter doesn't even have an HP threshold, right? It's Vengeful that has 50%. Yeah, Bold Fighter can be used if your unit's at 1 HP, which is kind of... seems a little bit dumb.
Let's see. Thoughts on tactics skills. I like tactics skills a lot. My favorite Gimmick team right now is the Begnion Air Force with Mur and Soniki. I think that's a really powerful combination that people don't talk about.
Do you think
but they work really well together.
will come back with the new
You can use Mur to just do
it.
really strong dragon stuff and then teleport Soniki around with guidance. It's really cool. It's a very fun build to play too.
The QR seal should come back in the next update, based on how they've been releasing forging seals. They seem to come after like 2 updates.
What do I think the refinery for Leo will be? My guess is that it's going to be gravity smoke, but that's like a very, very basic guess. Who knows though? I expect something that helps him tank maybe, because he's kind of an enemy phase unit. So maybe like a gravity smoke effect with like a damage reduction, maybe. Let's see. Any other questions? Akariss, in the current meta, is Distant Counter losing its value?
Yes, it is. If you play on the higher tiers of Arena, Distant Counter is kind of... the only reason to use Distant Counter at the top of the Arena meta is for Arena scoring, and that's pretty much it. Assuming you even you're within a 100 SP skill set. But if you use it outside of Arena in Chain Challenges, Tempest Trials, even the lower Arena scoring, it's definitely one of the most useful skills. And even at the top of Arena meta, you may occasionally run into like some Winter Tharjas, Halloween Jacobs. Now you're going to see probably like the LA Lin as well. So you definitely could see these, and Distant Counter works there. But it's more niche at the top, and warding Steady Breath, specifically Steady Breath, is very strong here.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. Basically, exactly. Distant Counter is incredible at low merges because it helps make up the action economy that you get from Distant Counter is crazy, and it just makes everything so convenient. It makes playing with units way easy. At very high merges though, you should only be concerned with winning duels in melee against armors and dragons. It's the only thing you're gonna see. Do I think armors are getting too much love or just enough? I think they're getting enough love. The thing that frustrates me about armors isn't that they're good now, it's that other units are just worse than armors, if that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't mind armors being so strong if we were also getting things like non-seasonal mage flyers.
Yeah.
I know, what do you think?
I think you're right. I think they really need to start releasing things. Actually, this is another reason why I think Grima was on the right direction. They finally released a unit type that's unique that wasn't seasonal. Finally. So, I'm happy with Grima's release in general. I don't think it was bad at all. Also, Harden was like the first blue unit on the blue armor unit in the permanent pool that's never been released since the creation of this game, and that's definitely, again, a step in the right direction. And yeah, I mean,
is that true? How many blue armors do we have? Like 5?
Effie and Wendy are the only ones in the permanent pool now. With Harden being released, it's the third. So yeah. Wow. I mean, there was obviously Winter Robin, I think was blue armor that was seasonal. I don't think there was any other, actually. Pretty sure. But yeah, there were really not that many, and they definitely make some good choices here for the permanent pool. Mur being Flying Dragon was also a good direction, like, to be released. I think these are healthy choices. If they're in the permanent pool, I'm so for it. If they're seasonal, I think it's a little bit more questionable, because then if you're a newer player and you miss out on these opportunities, you feel like you just, like the whole Xander thing. And Camus is still there.
Evan, I think Evanus in chat put it really well. The problem with armors now is that they are just BS, or they're infantry with higher stats. Like for all intents and purposes, when you're actually controlling them, armors are just infantry that hit harder and take less damage.
Yeah, and you can pretty much remedy that difference by using like 1 armor march, 2 armor marches with a bunch of ward armors, and they give the same amount of buffs that infantry team could accomplish. Infantry's roles now is basically either used in tactic teams or they're used with infantry balls to create really good team comps. Otherwise, they definitely fall behind armors.
Or Aira, but Aira is like the exception.
Aira can just be thrown on any
Well, actually,
team.
no. And dragons. Dragons are technically infantry, although it's easy for us to like. I think we should specify non-dragon infantry. Because the breath refines are just so strong.
Yeah.
Are glass cannons still part of the meta? Yes, but not at high merges. The lower your score, the more powerful mages are. At very high merges, mages are worse than they've ever been. Let's see. What do you think about war dragons?
Me personally, I just don't really care about it too much.
I don't think it really changes anything, to be honest.
You're not
I mean,
gonna
it
attack
helps
into
matchups on the margin.
It helps the player more than it helps the player using it more than it helps the player playing against it. So it doesn't really have an impact on anyone's gameplay. You shouldn't really be attacking into into a team that's running full wards. Stack. Yeah, like this applies the same kind of playstyle against armors, right? If you see armors, you see dragons. You don't attack into them if they're having wards. You separate them, divide and conquer them, right? It doesn't really affect us much. It's nice for players though to have this choice on their own teams.
I think the most common use case for ward dragons at high merges will actually be guaranteeing the Alm matchup, because a ward stack is one of the safest ways to ensure that your blue dragon doesn't die to Alm. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of it's less scary than people think it is. I'll put it that way.
We're not keeping you, are you? I'm not keeping you, am I? I mean, if you have to run,
I've got a couple minutes.
Okay, good. The chat loves you, so
I'm having a good time. What do you think is the most overpowered skill other than fighter skills? Steady breath. Steady breath is overpowered. Actually, no, sorry, quick riposte. Steady breath would be reasonable if quick riposte didn't exist. So quick riposte is the next problem, I would think.
Kind of like vengeful fighter.
And yeah, I mean the reasoning for quick riposte. The reason quick riposte is a problem is because it makes speed not matter. The units that can run quick riposte well can effectively get free stats by dumping their speed.
Yep, this is why I always say slow
units are incredibly strong.
This is why I always say slow units are always going to be useful. Somebody always laughs at like Leo, Red Horse Mage, slowest speed, Omega Lull, but I'm just like, okay, are you serious? He still has great defensive stats. Use him on the enemy phase with Quick Riposte, which he has on his base kit. Give him 4 to 5 buffs, give him close counter, and watch him like destroy a whole team by himself.
It's like, look at Dorcas, right? Like Dorcas is done. You pull Dorcas and he's ready to go.
Yeah, if you're stance QR IP, like you don't need to add anything. Distant defense seal.
He even has a damage special. Like he's good. You just need to give him repo and he's like actually done.
So somebody sent me a Dorcas with a kit that was changed, and I'm like, no, back to his original kit. Like you're trying to like change what works.
Let's see. Do you think the devs are aware of the imbalance of infantry units? Yes, but I think the way they are trying to fix it is they're trying to do things that aren't just adding emblem buffs. Emblem buffs are kind of boring, so skills like Infantry Pulse exist to give infantry, and Guidance to an extent, give infantry more options without just making their stats go up. I think that's a good thing too. I like the infantry are kind of intended to be the flexible movement type, where they're in between the others. They don't have like their restrictions aren't as severe and their advantages aren't as great, but in exchange they aren't nearly as powerful.
Yep, I agree with that reasoning. They also have the least weaknesses, for sure. Like your armors still have the weaknesses to armor slaying weapons. Fires still struggle with bows, and in general have pretty weak enemy phase units in comparison to the other types. You have your dragons, which got kind of nerfed, I guess you could say, with falchions now becoming more prominent again. Then you have, what did I miss? Cavalry. Yeah, cavalry's, they have the great movement, but they've been kind of nerfed again through trenches and trees. So.
Let's see. Would everyone using mixed teams be the ideal meta? No, and for one reason. When people say they want to run a mixed team, what they really mean is they want to run a team that has Myrrh on it.
Wait, really?
Because Myrrh is like the linchpin of every mixed team, pretty much. At least at high merges. Like, I've seen so many teams that are Myrrh, Zelgius, and like one other unit.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
A team.
I guess
a
not
team
for
of
fun
Myrrh.
though. I mean, I would use mixed teams that didn't have it, but I see what you're saying at the higher cores. Yeah.
A team of Myrrh, Zelgius, and like Naui, like that's no different than anything we're fighting now, right?
If that's not every single match of mine.
It's like every team I've ever seen. I do think there are really fun things you can do with mixed teams though, like the Sonic-y and Myrrh combo is actually really fun, or even just like Sonic-y and Baruka. Like you don't need Myrrh, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually planning to build a tactic team myself. Once I get Lilina, La Rochelle from 4-star to 5-star, my Merrick with Gromblade, just for the walls, and legendary Ike once you get him, and yeah, I'm just gonna build like the ultimate infantry blade mage, but still have the benefits of cavalry and you know, other things like that. But yeah, I see Sanaki, I see Honoka, and I see these units with guidance touch with armors, and you can now officially like run a single armor with armored boots, and you create some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of really cool teams that people can build that will work, but aren't. I think people are a little afraid to invest in characters they like because they're worried that they won't be able to fight the really overpowered stuff, and that's like kind of a problem, right?
You still have to consider meta regardless of how you build stuff, yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's a shame. Ideally, my ideal meta would be everyone gets to play with the units they want to play with, and they have a good time. Whether that's competitive or not, I don't really care. But I'm also not someone chasing rank 1.
Indeed.
What's the idea behind Sonic-y with Baruka? So the idea is that by having a powerful green flyer, you can teleport Sonic-y around, and she can just blow people up. The combo with Myrrh is really powerful because Myrrh is just such a powerful unit, but Baruka is budget, and she's easily mergeable. So she can be like a very strong defensive anchor for a team.
Why not a blue flyer, just out of curiosity? You said Baruka, but why not blue? Like, can't you just use like Shanna or Florina or something?
Oh, you could.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You just said green. And
I just
like,
think...
Yeah.
That's wrong.
I think actually, in my opinion, blue would probably work better with Snacky, because blue would manipulate the AI, a green unit, to go towards Shanna or Florina, for instance, and Sanaki would teleport and one-shot the green unit chasing.
See, this is why we need to make a video on AI manipulation.
I agree.
That's the rank 1 teacher knowledge coming through.
Thanks for the plug.
Let's see. Any other questions? What about Sonic and Honoka? Yeah, same principle.
For those of you who don't know, I'm going to be uploading this podcast basically to YouTube on my channel. So if you guys miss it, the whole thing should be uploaded after. If you miss anything, just kind of listen to it on your day to work or something like that. So don't feel like you need to be here this whole time. And I think Dire and I are going to work on something for his channel as well. If you want to tell them, you can go ahead.
All right, but that's all the time that I have, unfortunately.
It's okay. I know you got to run, but I do appreciate you stopping by, and we can definitely do it again. I mean, not every week, but I'm sure we'll see you again, and you'll give everybody the knowledge we deserve. I'm sorry that we weren't able to answer all questions, but we'll try to do it again.
Oh, well. Okay, there's one last question at the end that's worth talking about. How do you feel about the summoning pool? the summoning pool is bad. There are a lot of problems with summoning. I think summoning is not particularly fun right now. The 4 and 5 star category should probably be removed. Like, I think
I've said
when I'm summoning units,
yeah, I've said this exact same thing.
When I'm summoning for units, the thing that's frustrating the most for me is repetition. I don't really mind getting 4-star units if they are like new 4-star units, right? Or units that I don't have a lot of. But when I get the same units over and over and over again is very frustrating and very boring. So I think by getting rid of the 4 and 5-star category, then at least if you get Pity Broken, it's by a 5-star exclusive, right? That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, I've made this. I did an analyzation on the summoning pool myself where I said all units that share 4 and 5-star rarity should be removed from the 5-star pool permanently. But I don't, based on the anniversary update and even the next update, I don't think they're going to do this. It just seems like it's such a profit loss for them. So,
yeah, there are plenty of ways to fix it. My ideal solution would actually be progression that isn't tied to summoning, like more ways to get units and actually get them to +10. But obviously that's leaving too much money on the table.
More GHB reruns, more TT reruns with units that come back, so you can keep building units without having to rely on
other ways
summons.
to get skills. You know, any number of possible solutions.
Legendary Ike.
And I'm not going to claim to have the best one either, because
we're not designers.
Yeah. All right, but that's it for me. So I need to take off. But
Thanks
this
so
was really
much.
fun, and I would be more than happy to do it again.
I'll look forward to it, Mines. I mean, Dire, thanks so much, man. I just read like Mine's message in chat, and I'm just like, oops, brain fart. But thank you so much, Dire, and we'll keep in touch. And yeah, let's do it again soon.
Magic is everything, and I'll talk to all you nerds later.
So good. See you, man. Peace.
Have a good one. Peace.
That was so good. Oh man.